Hey, everybody, and welcome to Captain Hunter's podcast, the podcast that is dedicated towards helping men improve themselves, dedicated to improving the lives of young black men and older black men and the black community at large. And so for today, we're going to continue on with our presentation of reading through an article about being a pickme, featuring Miss Courtney Michelle, who is infamous, or famous, not infamous, but famous within the black manosphere. And this article was written by Ms. Dr. Danielle Procope Bell, Dr. Bell. Pick Me, Black Women, Tactical Patriarchy, Femininity in the Black Manosphere. So I'm not going to belabor the point here, so we're going to jump right into it. Right, I read the introduction and the abstract, so now we're going to get into hopefully the meat of this, and this section is called Pick Me, Black Women and the Black Manosphere. So I started already reading some of the citations here. This one by Aaron Fontaine is addressing some of the problems with the Black Manosphere. And so let me take a minute here. First of all, let me just say I didn't mention this yesterday, but it took me forever to actually find and get this article that I'm reading right now. This one by Dr. Bell, because I'm affiliated with at least 6 schools. Either I went to them or I teach or taught at them. Right. So it took me I could not find this article. I don't know if this feminist studies media is not very well known, or it's not picked up by a lot. It must not be picked up by a lot of schools. And I just couldn't find it. So I don't know. I couldn't find it. So finally, what I had to do is I went to a school that I taught at before, and I just kind of logged in to see, because I really wanted to find this article because I heard so many people talking about it. And so I went to a school that I was logged into a school that I used to teach at, and saw if my credentials still worked. They did. And so I was able to get in and use my credentials, and then and they didn't have it either, but they did have the option to get it through an interlibrary loan. So that's how I end up getting the article. So I'm appreciative of that. So it's difficult to find. So, I don't know. So let me show you some of the stuff that I was kind of going over and going through, and we'll see what the problems is, that people are taking so many pop shots, I would say, at black men. So this is an article. This is an article in the Black Youth Project. You can see it there, Black Youth Project. It's not just white incels. We need to talk about the Black Manosphere too, right? So this article from 2018 by a couple of different contributors, Aaron Fountain, right? And this is going to become relevant. He's got a lot of citations here, and I read through this, and it I can't say that their take, the contributors' take, is 100% wrong. I think that there is too much in the Black Manosphere. There is too much emphasis on targeting black women. I think that that the answer to black men's problems is to address black men. I absolutely believe that, and I think that that's the way to go. I really believe that you got to address black men. But he's talking about Pookies and Ray Rays and poor taste and men going their own way, and and all that. And he talks about the Moynihan Report, which is heavily referenced in the Black Manosphere and all that. So I'm not going to say that bottom shelf Rebecca's, So I'm not going to say that all this, but I am saying that I think that these articles intend to paint a bad light on black males in particular, right? Aaron, he was a PhD candidate. He might have finished by now. The author, that is, right? So here's a related article: How Tyrese used misogynoir and black patriarchy to gain sympathy, support, and joint custody. Right. So here, how Tyrese used misogynoir and black patriarchy to gain sympathy, support, and joint custody. And she starts off with, I'm assuming this is a she, Idly. That's the author's name, by Idly. I don't know who that is. This is a man's world. This is a world that is designed to coddle and protect men from the consequences of their actions and interactions with men. This is a world where men are having the same immense power to define these interactions and single-handedly deem their retelling of it as an unchangeable truth. So she's already starting with the premise that men is lying. Men are lying, right? And we're appealing to other. I don't even know who it would be. Other men. I don't know. And this, they're saying, or she's saying it's a man's world. Men in the manosphere are saying it's a woman's world. We can't get anywhere. The laws need to change. Divorce laws, alimony, child support, automatic custody. They're fighting against 50-50 custody, all this type of stuff, right? So there's just unmitigated. What I'm just learning from this space, and I've known it all the time, but it's just this unmitigated, unrefined, all-out war between men and women, in particular black men and black women. Gosh, and it's actually crazy. I don't even know when Tyrese was when he put up this video of him crying, but him crying was a use of black patriarchy. Ridiculous, And then, it's more related topics. For Karen Smith and other black women who seek freedom, when misogyny is enough or misogynoir is enough. Related to black men, we need to acknowledge that we have a problem. Let's talk toxic masculinity, right? Another article. This guy, Shekinah Mandona, talks about his experiences, and listen, some of this is problematic, right? I'm not going to say that what he's talking about isn't problematic, right? The that's not a term I'm going to use. The masculinity that is portrayed within some of our communities, right, in order to exhibit our dominance, has been negative towards each other, has been a problem concerning our interactions with the police, has been a problem with our interactions with our love selections, causes fights and all this type of thing. So we really need to get a hold of that. And I'm not saying that masculinity itself needs to go away. I certainly don't believe that. But I do think that we need better mentors. And I think that we need better, I don't know if you guys can see that. I probably should widen it up a little bit. So we definitely need to do that. And that's what I'm talking about, is talking about making sure that men get the educations and the emotional, social control that we need in order to better ourselves. So what I'm saying is about these articles is these are some of the articles that one can read it into and just think that men are just really just bad, just a problem all the way around. And that's just not the case, and that's something that I'm going to say. It's not something I need to say, or I'm going to say. So I just think that we need to take a look at what we're reading, consuming, and stop with all this. Right, and this is aimed at, I would assume, Black Youth Project teens, right? Teen voice and race and all that kind of stuff. So these are some of the ideas that we really need to come in contact with and finding better outlets. And I'm all for finding better outlets. Some of the other things that I've read, right, valuing black women's work. Some of these are some of the things that I would assume we're going to cover. One thing led me to another as I'm reading through this. Women as breadwinners. Miss Bell, Dr. Bell, suggested that in her narrative in the introduction that 70% of black women are either breadwinners or co-breadwinners or something like that. So these are changing demographics that people need to get a hold of and all that. And then something else I looked at was disappointing facts about the black-white wage gap. I'm not an economist, and I'm very, very skeptical of this particular article. It does talk about male and female, black and white male and female differences in pay, but it does attempt to bring into account industry and occupation, right? What are you going to school for? And that supplies for a number of it. What they don't explain is this unexplained, this red portion here between men and women. What they don't understand, is that racism? Is it experience? What is it, right? Because education, there's a little bit of an explanation between education, a little bit of an explanation between where you live. The green would be where you live. Some states pay more, whether you're part-time or full-time. Industry and occupation, age, and all that. So this red area seems to be quite substantial, and they don't know why that is. And some others I've read have said that the pay difference between men and women has been because of the amount of not only the jobs, but how much overtime is being done in volunteering for extra hours and all this type of thing. So I'm not an economist, right? So I think it all gets kind of funky and hairy from there. So, but anyway, so those are some of the things I just want to cover before we dive into reading the rest of this. So let's get back into the article by Miss Dr. Bell. Okay, here we go. All right. Okay. The black manosphere is often overlooked in discussions about involuntary celibate incel and anti-feminist communities. Involuntarily celibate anti-feminist communities. Aaron Fontaine calls it a subculture within a subculture to illustrate the group's relative obscurity. I don't think that the manosphere and the black manosphere is really all that obscure anymore. I think that it's gaining a lot of attention, probably not in relation to the black. Maybe, and maybe, and certainly not in comparison to the white manosphere, right? Because I mean, let's face it, they are always going to get the light and the shine. Passportbros was a collection originally of black men who were saying that this, what they're going to do and where they're going to find love in potential mates. And next thing you know, there are articles written about Brad. Okay. Unlike the mainstream red or manosphere community, which is white male dominated and intersected with political alt-right, the black manosphere is populated by black men who are primarily concerned with any challenge to black male authority, any challenge to black male authority and dominance, right? They are largely culturally conservative, misogynist. They don't like women. That's what misogynist means. They don't like women. I don't think that's the case. And she said that she listened to hours and hours of it. And listen, I've been one to criticize some of the craziness that goes on in the manosphere. I certainly am one of them. I definitely think that there needs some professionalization that goes on and some weeding out of some negative Nellies there. But we're not all. I don't even know if I'm really. I don't even know if I would really consider myself manosphere. Somebody asked me that question the other day. I don't know. I go back and forth. I certainly make manosphere adjacent content because I want black men to be better. That's why I want black men to do better, be better. Misogynist certainly, but also homophobic and transphobic. I haven't heard any of that. I haven't heard any of that. Many are also economically conservative and believe that social welfare policies disrupt their role as patriarchal leader of the family. I think there's some evidence to that. I definitely think that that's true. And particularly, Kevin Samuels, when he was alive, had a show in which women would call in night after night, and you can watch street interviews. You can watch anyone to say, what do they want in a man? They want a man who's a protector, provider, who makes more than them. Some say at least 30% more than them. Some say 50% more. I don't want to work at all. I want all his money to go for bills, and I just want to spend my money. So what's wrong with being a patriarchal leader of the black family? And if you were being subverted by government policies in order to do that? I think that that's a true statement, an accurate statement, that this is what has happened. They're distinct from the white manosphere in that they do not explicitly support white supremacy, although they do regularly utilize racist talking points when speaking about black women. I think that goes both ways. I think that black men do it. I think that black women do it, although I'm not sure as to what she would be referring to when they talk about supporting white supremacist talking points. I don't know what that would be. I think that black people in particular have a sociological, psychological problem and we will continue to have one as long as we live in this country. I think that is the reason that our ladies use so much makeup. Our ladies put weaves in their hair and do everything they can from bleaching their skin, all these different types of things in order to look like what they think is the ideological picture of beauty. And I think that that's something that we, and it's always amazing to me because we have, in the 1970s, we were wearing afros. And I talked to this lady that she was on my podcast before. She was a professor at Temple University. And she was saying that was a political protest. Okay. if I remember that correctly. She said those were times of political protest, whereas where going natural today is not. So listen, we have a lot of problems that we need to solve, and I don't think that we can solve them if we're taking shots at each other constantly. As this that's the reason I'm reading this article. This is a shot. This is a shot at the pickmes. This is a shot at those people who are trying to live up to the expectations and the ideations that men want, particularly a certain type of man. Right. This is the whole point of this. Don't be a pick-me, because it hurts all of us when you are performing, being sweet, soft, feminine, submissive, cooperative type of behavior in order to be picked by these type of men. It hurts all of us. That's exactly almost what she wrote, particularly in the abstract here, Ms. Bell, Dr. Bell. So I just think that this is just problematic, and we got to figure out a way to come together so we can actually have conversations without attacking each other in hit pieces disguised as a scholarship. Its ideological focus can be summarized as believing that Black women lack true femininity and are masculine and must learn to submit to the leadership and control of Black men for the sake of the Black community. Some do believe that. Rashay J. Daniel Barnes research, I don't know what that shows, that Black men generally expect Black women to make economic contributions to the household, but the Black manosphere departs from this script and argues that Black men belong in the workforce and that Black women belong at home. Okay, is this part of the citation? Because she's making an assertion there. But the Black manosphere departs from this script and argues that Black women. Okay, let me pause right here. So this is a book that I have not read. I'm not, I don't have time to go through this and yet read it. Research shows that Black men generally expect Black women. Let's do this. Let's do this. Daniel Shea Barnes, copy. So I could not find. This is a book, actually. So this is a book, and I could not. I did not access it to sort of research. That shows that Black men generally expect Black women to make economic contributions in the heads of household. I think the most Black men would rather work, would rather be the breadwinner. I think that most men would rather be the breadwinner. I don't know if his research details that, but I think giving any type of equitable parity, and this is where I started to pause here for a second here to try to look at that, some type of economic parity, and I think that most people would want that. Let's take a look for that. All right, so I took a pause for a second there, and I wanted to we're talking about this important thing about what people want and what men want. And so this comes from LinkedIn, right? Fem Leads Women Empowering Women, published last year, right? There has been a lot of debate about whether, and the name of the article is The Work Wife. Do men prefer, I guess that's a picture. Do men prefer working wives or housewives? What do men prefer? There has been a lot of debate about whether a working woman is a good wife or a housewife who stays home while their husband earns. They both have different responsibilities, and society has different expectations of them that they define based on their convenience. However, how do men want their wives to be, right? Not because of social pressure, not because of the changing economy, but if given all things were equal, what would they prefer? They are working women and homemakers. Both have been heavily scrutinized by society. It deems working women to be unavailable wives, daughters-in-law, and mothers, while homemakers are called dependent and domestic. Though it is a matter of choice and circumstance, often these decisions are forced on them by society and also their husbands. So here we go. So it's not really their choice, right? Though men should not have a say in what choices a woman makes, this leads us to think about what men want their wives to be. What do they want? Do they want to be independent with a job that contributes to their income, or a housewife who stays back home and looks after? What do the men want? Do men prefer wives without jobs? There has been a recent survey conducting using matrimonial sites based on the amount of interest working women get from regarding marriage. The data indicated that men chose non-working women as potential wives compared to working women. Women in job roles that are conventionally masculine, like IT firms. Let me make this bigger. Management and business were the least chosen on matrimonial sites. This data collected in 2023 shows that men still look for wives who can look after their home and free them from handling their daily lives needs like washing, cleaning, and cooking. These are life skills and things that every adult and independent needs to learn and do daily, but seems like men have an option of getting a wife who can do these things in their stead while they become responsible husbands who earn for them and are called helpful and great for washing their undergarments. Always some jabs and pejoratives thrown in here, but what men want. Clean their own house and fly their dishes on the weekends. I don't know. I don't know. Is this written correctly? Fly their dishes? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. Meanwhile, women have no such choices as whether they have a job or not. They are still supposed to manage their home along with their day-to-day job because they are a wife. An interesting thing about this is that these are the same men who complain that they need equal treatment and are tired of sexist expectations like the pressure to earn a living and pay dates by gifts for their partners, etc. While women are exempted from that responsibility. No, that's not what the complaint is. The complaint is that you're making money. Why do we have to pay? If you're out here and hustling and bustle, at least I haven't seen it. I haven't seen anybody complain. If I'm out there hustling and bustling, and the expectation is that, if we're both out here on the grind, hustling and bustling, why do I have to pay 50-50 for the date? Why do I have to pay for the date and you can't pay next time? Or I pay for the date and you pay the tip? Why? That's what the complaint is. Men need to understand that finances are not their only responsibility. They don't have to pay for every date, and neither should they be the only ones to buy gifts. However, such equality can only be achieved when they seek a partner that works and is financially independent. So this now turns into a session. We just can't help it. Just can't help it. There's something in the DNA. There's something in it that this is about. It's supposed to be about what do they prefer? And sooner than later, here comes the preaching. Men need to understand that finance is not the only responsibility. They don't need to pay for every date, and neither should they be the only ones to buy gifts. But that's what the women have said. That's what they have said, that they want providers. That's what they have said. However, such equality can only be achieved when they seek a partner that works and is financially independent. She will contribute to the income, buy you gifts, and pay her own money on dates. Can't help it. Eventually just went into preaching and just it is understandable that when one partner is unavailable, the other has to make up for his absence. It is understandable when one partner is unavailable, the other has to make up for his absence. Families. It is a common way of supporting each other, but that is not exactly the ideal way of doing it. Women might want to stay at home and look after the family, but men need to understand. You need to understand, men, that if they start a family, they have to make changes to accommodate their needs. For centuries, they have been exempted from family responsibilities, but that does not mean it is good. A relationship is based on equal compromises, and if a woman decides to take a remote job to be more available for the family, a man should take up more household duties to make things work. If a wife decides to work 9-to-5 job, the man should know that household duties are to be equally divided, so they both have enough time to relax and manage their personal and professional life. Just couldn't help it. Just couldn't help it. No matter what the research shows, this is what we're doing. All right, back to the article here. Back to the article about the manosphere. Can't help it. Okay, so let's see. This establishes a firmer gender hierarchy where black women must submit to black men and their economic provider, and this is what they're rejecting. This is the complete and utter rejection. That article that was just on LinkedIn that I just read, it's all part of it. In the black manosphere, black women are considered destructive, lazy, unattractive, unrealistic, lousy mothers, and entitled, very much in line with hackneyed and racist views of black women in broader U.S. culture. So why do anti-feminist women or pickmes exist, right? Why are you going along with this, women? You pickmes, you Courtney Michelle's, and whoever the other lady was that was back up in the other at the top. Why are you guys going along with this? It's just destructive to all of us. They want to put us back in the kitchen, and we fought so hard to get out of here. And we want to pay 50-50, and men don't have to pay for all the dates and all this kind of stuff, right? Pickmes are, for the most part, deeply culturally and religiously conservative, and posit that their best asset is not their intelligence, careers, or even their beauty. Rather, it is their traditional femininity and deference to men. For these black women, blackmanosphere content is empowering, or at the very least useful. They contrast this with feminism, which they view as a scam that perpetrates the strong black woman myth and the life of economic and psychological struggle. They hope to circumvent challenges created by capitalism, white supremacy, and patriarchy in the paid workforce by becoming patriarchalized wives. Heteropatriarchal black marriages are viewed as the ultimate solution to pickmes concerns. Loyola Council states marriage cooperates as a both and in the black community, a tool to fight systematic racism and sexism within a collectivity and form of patriarchal oppression. The black manosphere's heavily misogynistic content coexists with at least the rhetoric that patriarchal men are the financial providers and physical protectors of their women. In other words, this arrangement between patriarchal men and feminine patriarchal women creates a synchronicity where black men, at least in their theory, should not need to work or perform domestic labor for anyone other than their husband. Right? They don't listen. This is all about they don't want to be controlled. They want their freedom. They want it. They want. And listen, that's it's totally fine. Give it to them. Give it to them. Don't fight and argue about it. This is what they want. This is what they want. For these women, their husbands are their bosses, in quotations. As one commenter succinctly stated, I'm not working for anyone. My home is my work. My husband is my work. My children are my work. Certainly, these promises of relaxed life with middle class comforts are seductive to a group of women who are disproportionately stuck in or near poverty, right? So there's something got to be wrong with you, right? You can't be of the upper class mindset or have high self-esteem or be educated and believe these things, and who rely upon a low-paying, undesirable, and all-encompassing jobs to barely survive, right? So if you're stuck in a dead-end job, you're undesirable, you're not going anywhere in life, then yeah, this is the life for you. But if you got upward mobility, you got a set of skills, then this is not the life for you. You ought to be doing something better. That's the narrative that's being painted here. This provides a compelling and indeed coercive source for black women turning towards anti-feminism. At the crux, does she have any support for that statement, right? Right, this is where she needs some support, that these people are all, or a majority of them, are a good deal of people who want the so-called traditional white life. And I'm including non-black women as well. If you have a leaning or bent towards this life, okay, it's okay if you're conservative, it's okay if you're religious, it's okay. Those things I don't have a problem with. But when she starts throwing the pejoratives that if you had a better job, a better higher sense of self-worth, right? This is where she needs to start providing some evidence for this. At the crux of this carefully devised tactical patriarchal femininity is a complex awareness of the limitations put on the black woman's life by destruction and harmonization of sexism, racism, and capitalism, right? So if it wasn't for sexist ideologies, racist policies, and capitalistic, taking advantage of people, right? You wouldn't want that. You'd want to be out in the workforce. Anti-feminist black women conflate patriarchal's verbal deification of the wife and mother identities with respect for the labor performed by wives and mothers. However, patriarchy absorbs the wife in terms of her specific utility to the patriarchal man as a 24/7 nanny, executive assistant, house cleaner, and manager, and regularly available sex partner. These feminized roles are in turn devalued. By who? Who's devaluing it? And masculinized role of being a financial provider is simultaneously elevated as being more important. So it seems, okay. I mean, these are opinions here, right? Who's devaluing it? Who's devaluing that motherly role? Who's doing that, right? And certainly not the men who are looking for it, because they value it. They were looking for it. This is what I want. This is what I want. And the masculinity role is certainly valued, right? Everybody, nobody likes masculinity until it's time till it's time for it to go down, whatever it is, right? You need a nice masculine man when you to come bang on your door to get that fool out of your house, or when the house is on fire, or you need that construction, that building built, or you need somebody to stand up for you, or whatever. Nobody has any problem with patriarchy or masculinity then. After all, in the manosphere, it is men who are the prize, and whose value rests on their current or potential professional and economic accomplishments. But that's everywhere. Everybody wants that. Everybody wants that. Let's stop pretending that this is just the manosphere. Who doesn't want a successful man? And I know that there are articles. I started to read some articles talking about the change in the economy, which is causing the change in the masculinity. But there's also articles out there that say that the more let me see if I can find it here. So this is the article that I was just about to bring up, right? This is from a little bit a while ago, right? 2013, men who do more housework have less sex, right? So this idea that we become more egalitarian and all this, and it doesn't really matter, and the more I work, the more you ought to chip in and all that, right? This article is proving that type of man is not attractive to the type of woman, to these ladies, right? Conventional wisdom suggests that women are drawn to men who help around the house. That's what conventional wisdom says. Yeah, I want a man. I've been told that. Yeah, I see you playing with the kids. I see you doing housework. I see you helping with the dishes. Yeah, no, it doesn't. It turns me on. No, it doesn't. A February paper in American Sociological Review reported that married couples in which men take on a greater share of the dishes, laundry, and other traditionally female chores, can't use female, gotta use gender, right? Chores had sex less often than average, which in the studies was about 5 times a month, right? That was the average, 5 times a month. Yet couples in which men confined themselves largely to traditional male chores, such as yard work, enjoyed sex more frequently than average. Taken to the extreme, men who performed all the traditional female chores would have sex 1.6 times less often than men who did none of them. The study's authors from the Juan March Institute in Madrid and the University of Washington arrived at the correlation by crunching data from the National Survey of Families and Households, which gathered survey information from 4,500 U.S. married couples. The researchers ruled out any kind of coercion on the part of the manly chore-performing husbands by looking at data at the same survey of sexual satisfaction. That's very, very important. In other words, what this is saying is that they didn't say, "Hey, listen, I'm out here shoveling the snow and getting these leaves and making sure this grass looks good. It's time for you to put out." There was no coercion going on about that. They found that women from households with more traditional divisions of labor felt no less happy with their sex lives than women in more gender roles. So you're not attracted to it. You're being turned off. The study has its skeptics. Its data was gathered between 1992 and 1994, making demographer Sharon Sassler of Cornell University wonder about their relevance today. In the past 2 decades, she says, who gets married has changed considerably. Today, most couples cohabitate before marrying, and a large proportion of the women in those couples, Sassler argues, are not satisfied doing a proportionate share of so-called housework. So I try to be fair here. So let's take a look at this. Let's see if we can find this article here. All right. So I forgive me for taking all these detours and stuff, but I want to try to be as fair as possible when I do this. Right. So running ahead, housework and sex and couple sexuality. This is what year is this from? 2016. This paper is not the copy of record and may not exactly replicate the final authoritative data version. Please do not copy or cite without author's permission. The final article is here. Maybe I should go there. So this is not the final copy, but it's here at this particular spot. I went there and they want us to pay for it, so I'm not paying for it. So if they don't want it here, they should talk to Google and take it down. So anyway, I'm gonna use it. So using data from 1,300 couples who remained partnered over the first 5 waves of the German panel analysis of intimate partner relationships and family dynamics PARFAM project, this study investigated longitudinal associations between male partner contributions to housework and couple sexual satisfaction and frequency. The effect of 2 housework variables was examined: male partner share of housework and perceived fairness of male partners' housework contributions. Results from a series of autoregressive cross-legged models revealed no direct or indirect longitudinal association between male partner share of housework and sexual frequency or satisfaction. So this seems to be rebutting the other article that I read. Rather, when male partners reported making a fair contribution to housework, the couple experienced more frequent sexual encounters, and each partner reported higher sexual satisfaction 1 year later. This study provides a robust countering to recent findings suggesting men's participation in housework is harmful to a couple's sex life. Okay, so they're definitely going against the grain here. So let's read on a little bit. Skip the dishes, right? House, not so fast, right? When men contribute to housework, does it harm the couple's sex life? This is a compelling question given the juxtaposition of an attitudinal endorsement of egalitarianism as ideal for couple relationships, with assertions that partners in such unions experience more difficulty navigating their sex life compared to those with traditional gender roles. Indeed, this question was openly debated in media following the publication of a study that found less frequent sex in couples in which husbands complete a greater share of housework, traditionally done by women. I think this is the one I just read. Methodological shortcomings in this study specifically, but also in the literature more broadly, limit our ability to draw conclusions about the division of housework and couples' sexuality are associated. Okay. So maybe it's not true then, right? They're admitting that there's some drawbacks and some limits to their abilities. Namely, most research examining this topic is based on cross-sectional data, and no study has empirically examined the temporal ordering between male partner share of housework and sexuality. Motivated by a relational development systems approach, data from 1,338 couples who remained partnered over the first 5 waves of the German panel analysis of intimate relationships and family dynamics study are used to investigate longitudinal interrelations between male partners with share of housework and perceived fairness of their background contributions with the frequency of couple and sexual encounters and male and female sexual partner satisfaction. Background: housework and couples' sexual functioning. There have been 2 main foci among the few studies that examine the link between housework and couple sexuality. A first line of investigation considered how the total amount of time spent in housework might limit the time available for sexual intimacy. Well, it should lessen it, right? We can get the stuff done faster, so that time should be lessened. Drawing on qualitative interviews with 31 long-term married couples, Elliott and Umberson found couples attributed infrequent sex in part due to time demanded by household tasks, right? I don't have time for sex. I gotta mow the lawn. I gotta do all this stuff. As such, male partners reported completing household tasks in hopes that they would be sexually rewarded later. Wives affirmed the effectiveness of this strategy. Oh yeah, that's good, right? You get it done, help me get this stuff done, we can get to it. This time availability hypothesis was not supported. So even though the women said, yeah, if you help me, I'll give it to you more. And then what happened? They do it, and then they don't get it. This was not supported, however, in a study using the data from married couples in the National Survey of Families and Households. Results showed more time spent on housework by husbands and wives was associated with higher results showed more time spent on housework by husbands and wives was associated with a higher sexual frequency. Okay, that means it was working. Okay. Gagger and Ubuku, posit couples who excel in one domain, household and paid labor, are likely to excel in other domains, sexual frequency, aptly summarized as hard work play hard dynamic. In contrast, right? So is this working or not? As such, male partners reported completing housework tasks in hopes that they would be sexually rewarded later, which wives affirm the effectiveness of this strategy. This time availability hypothesis was not supported, however, in a study using data from married couples in the National Survey of Household. Right, so that study didn't work. Results showed more time spent on housework by husbands and wives was associated with higher sexual frequency. This seems to be, unless I'm crazy, this seems to be going against each other. Those two sentences seem to cancel each other out. In contrast to the absolute number of household work hours, the second focus of the literature examined how the relative share of housework between partners impacts sexual functioning, drawing married couples from the NSFH Cornrich et al. Examine how husbands share core of housework of those tasks completely attributed to women, preparing meals, cleaning housework, and encore, and typically attributed to men. Outdoor work, auto maintenance was related to sexual frequency. Results showed husbands who completed a higher proportion of core housework had less frequent sex. That's the one we studied. That's the one we looked at before. While completing a greater range of non-core tasks was linked with having sex more often. While completing a greater share of non-core tasks was more often. According to Cornrich and colleagues, traditional masculine and feminine behaviors consciously or unconsciously serves turn-offs for individuals, implying husbands emasculate themselves by completing housework, traditionally considered to be women's responsibility, and therefore experience reduced sexual frequency because they rendered themselves less sexually appealing by doing dishes. That's the study we read before. A second study challenged the results of Cornrich et al. By arguing their findings were driven by the use of data gathered in the 1990s, and they failed to consider whether associations between housework and sexuality are not linear. Using data gathered in 2006, Carlson and colleagues recoded the share of housework completed by each partner into three categories. Female partner does the majority, roughly equal shares, and the male partner does the majority. To test the curvilinear links between housework and sexuality, results showed having a roughly equal split in the core housework was not associated with decline in sexual frequency or satisfaction, compared to those where the female partner completed most of them. So if they're doing equal, then it doesn't diminish, which it shouldn't. The question is if they do well. I guess that's not really the question. Compared to those where the female partner completed most of the housework, only couples where the male partner completed the majority of housework, termed counter-conventional, experience less sexual satisfaction and frequency. So yes, so exactly. So that's what I was starting to say before. So if they do more of the lion's share of the housework, it's just a turnoff, right? And the woman has more time. The authors argued that their findings suggest a shift in how household labor relates to sexual functioning, with male partner contributions proving harmful to sexual satisfaction and frequency only when men defy societal norms and complete most of the core housework. Societal norms, right? It's not their fault. It's societal norm. It couldn't be the woman actually just turned off by that, right? It couldn't be that. No. Finally, we found one study that examined associates between male partner share of housework and couple sexuality longitudinally, using panel regression models and 4 waves of PARFAM data. Found no associate among male partner share of housework, core, non-core, and sexual frequency and satisfaction, casting doubt on the household link. So the research is all over the place. Let's just leave it there. The research is just all over the place, but I wouldn't take that chance. So let's get back to what we were doing before. Okay, back to pickme. The women in the prize, yes. Although the main point of the tactical patriarchal femininity is to partner with a high-earning man, anti-feminist single black women do not openly acknowledge their desire for financial provision because it disrupts the performance of docility and selfless submission to men that encapsulate the persona of traditional femininity. I thought they did admit to it. I'm saying I'm a fake. There was just a panel of Ebony K. Williams and a couple of other ladies up there, and one of them admitted, I'm a feminine woman. One said she was a progressive traditional progressive, whatever that was, right? So I don't know.
These real boss men, they do not desire a financial or an intellectual equal. They are not attracted to it. It is a turn off. The pee-pee goes, burr, burr, burr. It does. I'm telling y'all the truth. They did not go to law school, L'Oreal, so they could end up with a peer.
Welcome to Listen to Black Women. I'm L'Oreal, and we're here with Elle Barner.
I'm a feminine woman, and traditionally I want to play the feminine role.
Ebony K. Williams.
Our show up in this world is Ebony K. Williams, and no man can just hop on that.
And the beautiful Melissa Ford.
I want to preface all my answers with the fact that I am a progressive traditionalist.
And let me tell y'all something, you are in for a treat of an episode, because you are sitting amongst women that are always gonna tell it like it is, whether they get backlash or not. So we have a lot of...
This allows men to evade trite stereotypes about gold diggers who are purely after men's money. However, partner traditional feminine or trad wife black women will often share that they do not have to work outside the home. Nobody who wants to work outside the home. That's the question. Black women will often share that they do not have to work outside the home. This is framed as a reward for their anti-feminism and makes them an anomaly within the black community, where black women across generations are generally needed to seek paid employment, married or not. Right. So if you don't have to, why do you? If you don't have to, why would you, right? And why would you make fun of this? Why would you make fun of this? Far from accepting or viewing themselves as victims, anti-feminist black women believe that they are empowered and largely insulated from material and ideological state violence towards black women because of their tactical patriarchal femininity. Ideological state violence. Where do we start talking about state violence here? Far from accepting or viewing themselves as victims, anti-feminist black women believe they are empowered and largely insulated from the material and ideological state violence toward black women because of their tactical patriarchal femininity. Maybe because they're less feminine, it'll come off as rough, tough, masculine people who are challenging authority. Maybe the state violence, I'm assuming the police that you're talking about, don't feel them as a threat and don't have to heighten up their response to this type of aggression, whether it comes from men or from women. Maybe that could be it. They use victim blaming to explain instances of misogynistic violence or neglect. Victim blaming. Okay. If you're coming off as a masculine person, male or female, if you're coming off as a masculine person, you're gonna there's a price to be paid for that, right? Particularly if you want to delve into this idea of state violence. They will also explain that another black woman's singleness by saying she must lower her standards because her educational economic accolades have made her masculine and unattractive. They may argue that single black mothers lack support for the child's father because she did not avoid a Pookie and Ray Ray. She has been watching much of this material. I commonly use euphemism for an economically unstable man who may be engaged in criminal activity. This victim blaming is, of course, harmful towards black women since it makes poverty, violence, and neglect and abuse conditionally acceptable. Well, it's not acceptable. That's the point. The point is it's not acceptable. The point is avoid these types of situations, and you won't run into the state violence, and you won't have to do all this craziness if you just avoid it, right? Avoid these type of men. You won't have to be these 70% of breadwinning homes, or whatever that number was. But for anti-feminist black women, victim blaming elevates tactical patriarchal femininity to being foolproof strategy against experiencing harm, when of course it's not. Okay, I don't think that it's I don't think anybody says it's foolproof. I think it certainly lessens and diminishes it. Life is going to be filled with problems, and life is going to be filled with hurt and pain. But certainly, if you end up hooking up with and becoming entangled long term for 18 years, you know what I'm saying, with a Pookie and a Ray Ray, who's more than likely not working and involved in criminal activity, then you're going to have the police at your house. You're going to have be in criminal courts. You're going to be in child support court. You're going to bring all these headaches on yourself. So the advice is stay away from those types of people. And why would you want a high value man? Why would a high value man who's gone through education, who's made something of himself, started a business, become successful, done whatever, why would he want to be engaged and entangled with someone who's come from that environment? He doesn't. Pick me black women must compete against each other, which leads them to engage in the mean girl tactics and will often undertake a type of paranoid surveillance on each other. See figure 2. Okay, I'm interested to read that because I think that this there's this idea of competing. You know, it's do pass me's not have they just don't compete? They're just like, hey, whatever. I don't know. They will also question other pick-me's reputations, such as when Courtney stated that a fellow content creator has a history of obtaining abortions, in response to the content creator saying single mothers like Courtney have used wombs. Wow. Pick-me, black women know they must always remain an ideological anomaly. Do they have to be an ideological anomaly? I mean, this is the way that things were back in the days. It was. Okay, so it wasn't to the extent that they want it to be for black women, yes. But if you can get a black man who is on his game, on his grind, making a certain amount of money, why would you not want that, right? And so I think that that's the goal, to work as little as possible, right? Work smarter, not harder. Incentivizes infighting. Oh, okay, so they're just a bunch of catty high schoolers. That's what she's calling them. Their value to black manosphere men is in large part derived from their purported rarity, since high-value men, the black manosphere's term for high-earning men, supposedly only wanted to choose from the small number of women who truly embody traditional femininity. Well, it's only small because women refuse to play a more traditional role. If men made more money, right, and there was a higher number of men. If there's a higher number of men, then maybe there would be a higher number of women, and there'd be more of each other to go around, right? Just a thought. He means women will use you to manipulate you. The same ones complaining about loud women tend to be loud themselves, but they just see their behavior as passionate. Never believe what people say. Look at what they do. Oh, you saying the pick-me are faking it till they make it? Of course. Once they're in, the facade will quickly fade. Nobody is that perfect. I'm wary of anyone who brags about how great they are when it comes to dealing with men and have to compare the... So this is a screenshot she took, I don't know, probably from Twitter or something, maybe Facebook, I don't know. A YouTube comment. Oh, Kim is seeing a video where a black woman warns that pick-me women are, in fact, manipulators. Screenshot by author. So, listen, I think that's the end of that one, and we'll continue on here. Where am I at here? 35 minutes. I'll read the next section too. I think that a lesson to the men is just become the best versions of yourself. At the end of the day, I went through a lot of rabbit holes here, and actually, I'm going to stop it for today. I think I did a little bit more earlier. Sorry, I forget where I'm at with time because I had to stop it. So I'll stop right there. I got to edit this. So let me know your thoughts and your opinions. Next time we'll get into It's a Storybook Life, Black Housewives and Tactical Patriarchal Femininity. How much of this is there? I kept going on in rabbit holes here. Yeah, so I'll save this till next time, and we'll go through it again next time. I'll try to read 2 of these next time to try to get through this. So let me know your thoughts and your opinions. All that. Much love and peace.